I'm pretty sure I would fuck it. Yep, I would fuck it. I'm pretty sure. If I had to pick, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely it is that I'm gonna have sex with this car? I feel like 9.5. Pretty likely. This has to have become one of the most iconic cars ever. Anyways, let's show it to him. Why are you looking at me? I thought you were showing him the car the whole time. What's wrong with you? Anyways, what like, seriously? You were showing people me having chips the whole time?
That was the most interesting thing.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the chips.
Man, something wrong with you, man.
Okay, my bad.
Anyways. So, yeah, I thought you guys were looking at the... Anyways, yeah. So this is the P1 redone. And it's magnificent. And today I'm gonna share with you, not just the car, you've already seen it, you can go back to my old videos if you wanna see what it looked like before. It's in race mode. The only thing I've done to this car was put a set of wheels, but I want to talk about what makes wheels and why this specific set, because there are people that don't understand cars out there that would tell me, well, why would you do a classic 5-star like this on a car like that? Isn't that an older wheel and so on and so forth? And the answer is yes. This is my attempt at getting the closest to the original Le Mans LMR car for a P1, which had a very similar wheel design, except it wasn't a 3-piece wheel design. A lot of engineering went in this, and I'm going to share with you guys what is different from a typical C005R at AL13, which were the guys that helped me do this. So before I even start this, huge shout out to Will's Boutique, AL13 Wheels, Excel Racing, because we had to send these wheels back 3 times to get the right wheel, and I'm going to tell you why. Historically, if you look at every HRE, every other type of similar design, this isn't invented by a wheel company, but this has been out for a while. You'll see that there's a ton of rivets here at the edges, which no big deal. I know you can always delete rivets, that's not the idea. But one of the things you'll notice as a matter of the rivets is that this spacing here between this piece right here is typically about 2.5 times as wide as it is, creating a feeling where you get a lip, but then you get a second lip here, and you almost get a flat surface in the middle. This does one thing really bad. It makes the wheel look significantly smaller because visually you catch the middle and you forfeit the outer lip. So it just didn't work. So that was the first set we brought in. Just didn't work because it created a really weird feeling. And then there was a whole thing about offsets, which of course takes time to get perfect, etc. But that was the problem one, was that the design didn't give me the feeling I wanted to create. 2, there's this rear end, which if you look at every internet P1 out there, you'll notice that most people do a 2021 rather than, or do the 1920, the way basically P1s are. They're staggered from the factory in 1920. In this case, we did something else that was really unique. We wanted to do a 2020. And the reason we wanted to do that is because I'm very OCD. And I wanted to retain the rear Pilot Sport 2 cup tire because it did one thing really well for me. What it did for me is give me this feeling that it had a fat tire look. I'm sure you've seen the dragsters where you have the fat tire in the back and the small tire in the front. I wanted to create that look without killing the design. And in order to do that, and the way we were gonna run with this lip change now on the second set, I wanted to retain this, so we did a 20, but I wanted to push the wheel out all the way to the edge so that you could see the tire and it didn't tuck. Because the tucking on the back, to me, would hide this idea of what I was trying to do. So the offset had to work in a way that the tire came all the way out to the edge And the lip went all the way in, giving a very fat, old school lip, step lip as you see it, to make it work. The issue with the P1 is you have a brake duct back here, like a rear brake duct for the upper and lower, that just prevents wheels from fitting in unless they're 21s. So we had to modify all that to basically get a 20 rear end that fit with this offset, created this lip, and gave me the fat tire look. And I think the end result was 3 sets of wheels, 3 months instead of 1 month. And reality is, I think it came out as spectacular as I've ever seen it. Now, someone would argue, why didn't you do a black center? Why didn't you do a gray center? And I'm gonna tell you why. The car was boring to me. If you watch my reviews of it, I really wasn't a fan of the P1. Now, so someone would say, well, why did you buy P1 if you don't like it? If you know me or follow anything about exotic car hacks, and if you don't, you can click the link in the description, you know that I buy cars based on 2 sentiments. One, the value today and the value tomorrow, how collectible and how much money I'm gonna be able to make when I get rid of it in a year, 2 years, etc. And 2, I look at it and I say, okay, can I enjoy it in the meanwhile so I don't just look at it, but can I drive it? So I'm not a dealer, so I basically buy cars like a normal person like you, figure out ways to where markets are gonna go and basically trajectory map where markets are going, and then modify them because I'm a modification nut. You can see we're gonna talk about this car in the next video, my STO that just got finished. You've never seen that either. But this particular car mattered to me because this was the first car I had paid over $1 million for. I almost paid $2 million for this car, and I didn't like it. So I just didn't like the car because the design bothered me because the wheels were gray and it just looked really boring. Doing this transformed the car so much that I finally like its design more than this. And it's pretty incredible because I've always said wheels will make or break a car. And this is why there was zero compromise on getting the wheel to fit properly and do what we were trying to do here. And so it's with great success that after 3 months we were able to get this done. And the reason we wanted them to be brushed, because what we did a brush clear center and we did a polished lip. And the reason we did that and then deleted the rivets, visually when you add the rivets, you would have created a separation between the lip and the middle, making the wheel again look smaller like we had the problem earlier. Secondly, the other thing that works here, the contrast, this is a shade of gray, right? Silver and gray are in the same class. So you have basically a car that's gray with black carbon. You could do a black wheel, you really could. You could do a gloss black center and you would get also a very nice design, especially contrasting the silver calipers. But it wouldn't be an iconic and historical or classy design. Instead, what it would do is we would create a very race car-like look. Like this is a race car. I mean, it has its big wing, it has all of its carbon fiber everywhere, it's slammed to the floor, and it doesn't need more race-like things. And we can use that as a good example here. If we look at my STO, you can see race car, bright color, and again, wheels that are more on the design element than they are on the race element. Like black wheels on that STO would look great, but they would create a racier feel when the car is already racy. So to contrast the car, you need to balance out a car. And this is why this P1 came out so good, because one, if you look here, you'll notice how great the offset came out. But 2, literally looking here, you won't be able to see any of the middle lip, and you only see the lip coming out like a real deep dish, you know, car back in the 2008, 2010 era. This was incredibly popular. And since this car is the pioneer of that era, it just made sense for me to go with something like this rather than something else. Like I think that when you look at a car like the Senna, it's incredibly dramatic, so you need a subtled wheel. But when you look at like something like a P1, it's incredibly understated and classy and sexy, so you need a racier wheel. The contrast needs to happen not just in the color, but in the design as well. And the details is what gives you a visual perfect wheel over just this idea that, hey, you know what, it's not in the detail because the lip's out too much in this. Everything has to work, and this is where this works so perfectly. So, you know, I'm a big fan here. I think it came out spectacularly better than anything else I've ever seen. But I'm now a fan of the P1. I previously was not. I was kind of like, yeah, I'll get rid of it in a heartbeat. And this is really important for me because now I don't feel bad about keeping a P1 here because I actually like it. So I think it came out great. So again, a big thank you to AL13, a big thank you to XL Racing, and a big thank you to Will's Boutique for coming together to bring this project to life. I think this became one of the classiest and cleanest P1s on the market. We don't all have to agree. There is that day in your life when you make $2 million, you decide to spend it on a car, and then you can put Ronald McDonald wheels on it, and it's your choice, right? But for me, I think it came out here. Would love to know your comments, so feel free to put them in the comments and let me know. Do you think it came out good? Would you have done something completely different or not? Would love to hear your thoughts. And otherwise, of course, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and more importantly, enjoy the car.